Welcome to an episode of Chef Sports Talk. Welcome to Week 4, 2025 NFL season. Last weekend for NFL action was a very unique aspect. Block party. That's all you have to say is block party. There are so many block kicks, it was ridiculous. And seeing big man rumbling and stumbling down the field to clinch the game, even though he didn't really have to. It was a cacophony of just bad decisions all around. Teams stepping up when they had to step up. Other teams just kind of faltered away. And last week, I ended up going 11-5 once again. So there's a few games out there that did catch me by surprise. But that game in Cleveland, who would have thought Cleveland would actually step up to the plate and take on Green Bay? Stifle Green Bay. Blocked a potentially game-leading field goal that set up their game-winning field goal. So congratulations on the Browns getting their win for a touchdown that was not needed. And the Eagles escaped the Rams possible beating them. They almost did that last year in the playoffs. So I have a feeling we're going to see those two at it again in the playoffs this season. The Jets went down Tampa Bay and gave the Bucs all they could handle. But the Bucs still ended up winning, wearing their old school uniforms. A little throwback there. The Raiders went down to DC. I called it, the Commanders to win that game. They did. Atlanta went down to Carolina, and that Atlanta team, I don't know where that one came from, because they garnered 0 points. They got nothing. Carolina, it looks like they've come alive. They came alive in Phoenix. Atlanta went down to Carolina, and that Atlanta team, I don't know where that one came from, because they garnered 0 points. They got nothing. Carolina, it looks like they've come alive. They came alive in Phoenix in week 2 when they had that touchdown. Then they got the onside kick, which hardly ever happens nowadays, but just couldn't cross over that threshold. Well, they took that momentum they had against Arizona at the end of the game, transplanted it here, and took it to Atlanta, shutting them out. Like their biggest shutout in decades. Dallas went to Chicago, and where the hell did this Bears team come from? They did a flea flicker, almost screwed that one up. Swift launching it back to Caleb Williams. And that was when he tossed it too high, but still made the deep bomb for a touchdown. The Bears defense stepped up and just stifled Dak Prescott in this Cowboys offense. Dallas had nothing going. This is like the same Dallas team that took on the Giants and almost lost. But there's no miracle comeback. The Bears stepped up. Yeah, there's a lot of trickery plays that came in there, and I think that's what kind of helped them kind of disorientate the Cowboys defense. And I didn't pick the Bears in that game. I figured Dallas was too much for them, but they proved me wrong. Detroit went down to Baltimore. Once again, Baltimore in prime time failed to produce a victory. Derrick Henry had another fumble. It's become a theme with him this year. 3 games, 3 fumbles. And that led to the Buffalo comeback. And Detroit was able to use that to take the lead. Baltimore made it close at the end, but it was already too late. It was already a game already clinched, and it was just extra points at that point. But Baltimore failing to prove themselves in prime time could be a problem leading on down the season if they can't rectify that situation. But Detroit looks poised as always to continue to move forward. Now it's time to dive into week number 4, and we'll kick things off this Thursday as we head down to Glendale, Arizona, as the Cardinals play host to the Seahawks in a key NFC West showdown, as that NFC West is right now bottlenecked. The 49ers sitting on top undefeated, everyone else 2-1. So this is going to be another loaded division, possibly. Once again, this is early in the season. But Seattle, if you looked at their past few weeks, they have done quite well. They did very well against the 49ers week 1. They blew out the Steelers. They blew out the Saints. When they go against Arizona, Arizona struggled against the Saints. Arizona struggled against the Panthers. Arizona struggled against the 49ers, ended up losing in the end. And Sam Darnold is doing exactly what he needed to do, what he proved he could do when he was in Minnesota. He so far has over 660 yards in the air with 4 touchdowns but 2 picks. Kyler Murray still being very productive, over 540 yards in the air, 4 touchdowns and a pick. Benson's really leading the charge right now in the backfield with over 100 yards. Walker for the Seahawks, over 160 yards with 3 touchdowns. So right now the Seahawks offense will look a little more poised. Now Arizona's defense seems very more attuned because the most they've coughed up this season is 22 points. But Seahawks defense looks like almost like the Legion of Doom back in the day. They have been pretty steady, and they held down a prolific offense in the 49ers down. They stifled Aaron Rodgers. I mean, they will cough up points. They're going to end up doing that, and Kyler Murray will be able to exploit that. But to see how this kind of transpires right now, analytics give it to Arizona at 52%. The spread right now has it the Cardinals at 1.5. I'm not sure what they're kind of thinking of. There's a lot of question marks right now on that Seahawks defense. It's probably why. So I don't know. I think with the question marks, I think most of them will probably end up going. Maybe, Witherspoon may not with a questionable MCL, or Love, their safety with a hamstring, but I think everyone else probably will end up going. I'm going to give it to Seattle in this one. I do think there's enough with the Seahawks they're able to be able to muster past Arizona. But I would say this will be a very close matchup. Arizona will make this very, very interesting to watch on Thursday night. Now on Sunday, we get to kick things off. And top of the morning to you, milady. That's right. They're kicking things off in Dublin this year. But this matchup in Ireland will feature the Minnesota Vikings taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And this should be a very interesting setup to find out exactly who is going to lead this team further down the road. Now we're start looking at, how we got here with the Steelers. It's a mixed bag, really. I mean, they had that game against the Jets where their defense couldn't do anything. But just enough to where they escaping New York with a 2-point victory. And then Seattle, they just fell apart. But against the Patriots, they stepped up. So you see the thing switched in Pittsburgh. We'll see how that one plays out with Minnesota. Besides that game against Atlanta, where their offense just completely fell apart, but then they showed up against Cincinnati. They had that great comeback win against Chicago opening week. But once again, J.J. more likely is going to be out. So it's going to be another game of Carson Wentz. And I do think that there's a lot of things going with that Minnesota team that's going to give Pittsburgh's headaches. And you still have a lot of question marks on the defensive side of the ball for the Steelers. Maybe they start getting healthy and really start helping out. But I don't know. It's Aaron Rodgers, over 580 yards, 7 touchdowns, 3 picks. He's doing his typical Aaron Rodgers thing. He's going to give you at least a couple touchdowns and an interception a game. That's his shtick. But the running attack-wise is not really producing anything, so it's not really elevating anything. But Mason for the Vikings has give the Vikings an out to really go. Justin Jefferson will always have a guy back there to throw him the ball, so he's happy. But can T.J. Watt actually get in the backfield, disrupt everything? That's another question. So we see how things kind of play out. Right now, analytics give a slight advantage to Minnesota, 58%. The line has advantage of Minnesota, 1.5. I agree with both those statements. I think Minnesota's going to have just enough in that tool chest to be able to find ways to get past Pittsburgh and Dublin. Now back to a regular schedule of time. We'll head over to Atlanta, where the Falcons will now take on the Commanders. And right now, Jason Daniels is questionable, but we saw what they did with the Raiders with a questionable, with him out. So we'll kind of see how that one transpires. We can do on the knee. It's going to be, kind of out there. Also, Scary Terry's also kind of could be questionable as well, which eliminates a couple aspects with that offense. For Atlanta's offense, getting stifled in Charlotte shook up their offense. They got rid of their wide receiver coach like he was the reason why the offense had 0 points. But I digress. Kirk Cousins actually came in later on and couldn't do anything about it. B.J. Robinson right now is a dual threat running back. He has over 200 yards rushing and over 160 yards receiving with a touchdown. So utilizing him in the attack scheme is great, but unfortunately, if you take that away, what's Atlanta? They proved if you take it away, they are nothing without that. And Washington's defense actually was a lot of problems for the Raiders, and it could be another issue here. And I think there's just too much skills on the Commander's side that couldn't overlook. Right now, analytics has it at almost 59%. And the line is at 3.5 for Washington. I see no problems in those either. I think Washington's going to go down to Atlanta and continue Atlanta's struggles. I do expect them to have points, so I don't think they'll get shut out again. You might see Kirk Cousins make an appearance again, but I do think that Washington should be able to head down to hot Atlanta and escape with a W in the ATL. Now we head up to Western New York as the Buffalo Bills play host to New Orleans Saints. Rattlers quietly put up some good numbers, almost 640 yards in the air with 4 touchdowns and interception. Alvin Kamara, over 180 yards on the ground. So they are generating offense. Their defense is what's keeping them out. And once again, Chase Young is questionable. There's some question marks right there on the Buffalo side as well. And Josh Allen's just a beast right now, over 750 yards in the air, 5 touchdowns. Cook coming in the backfield over 280 yards, 4 touchdowns. You also got to worry about Allen coming out of the backfield, run you over too. So Buffalo right now looks poised. I think their defensive woes will still kind of continue. The Saints going to put up numbers. That's what they end up doing, because they end up putting up 13 against Seattle, 21 against 49ers, 13 against Arizona, and they only lost that one by 7. So we'll continue, but I don't know, just something about that Saints offense is something missing about it right now. Analytics, 81% Buffalo. They give Buffalo a 14.5-point spread. I doubt that, but they did put up 20 points advantage against the Jets, but only 10 against Miami. The Saints got blown out in Seattle, but that's the only game they got blown out in. I'm hesitant about that point spread just because of that. If it was under, it was like 13.5, maybe I might go for that one. But I know the point spread like that, you're almost tempted to go with pick the points. Almost. That's up to you, but I'm definitely taking Buffalo to win. I mean, this should be a easy win for the Bills to continue their undefeated season. Now take the surprising Browns. Now they go head up to Detroit to take on the Motor City Kitties, known as the Lions, in a great showdown. Can that Browns defense step it up again against this prolific offense? The Browns ran over the Eagles. The Lions ran over the Eagles during their Monday night matchup. Baltimore had no answers for either Montgomery or Gibbs. Even though Gibbs, they stifled more, but Montgomery was able to squeak out. Jared Goff did what he had to do to make those key throws when he had to, and that was it. They dictated that game, took Baltimore out of the element, and just dominated. Now, will Myles Garrett allow that one? That's a good question. Look what again against Green Bay with their offensive line. But Detroit's offensive line was just phenomenal against the Ravens. They were parting that purple sea with no issues whatsoever. So which old man you going to go with? Flacco or Goff? I think this one I'm going to pick more Goff. Analytics, 78%. The Lions at 8.5. I see no issues with this one. I think Detroit's going to, go in there and just, humble the Browns and go, hey, congrats on the win. Here's another loss. Now we'll go ahead over to Foxborough with Panthers come to town after their surprising win at home. Their shutout. Bryce Young looked halfway decent, over 600 yards in the air so far, 4 touchdowns, but he does have those 3 picks. Hubbard coming out of the backfield, very limited, over 160 yards on the ground. Drake May, decent numbers as well, 785 yards passing, 5 touchdowns, 2 picks. But he also coming out of the backfield for another 87 with a touchdown. But I think someone needs to step up else for that rushing attack or for Patriots, someone for passing, because you take out their tight end Henry, and there's no Hunter. You know, who else is Drake May going to be throwing to? So there's some question marks right now with that New England offense. Also having, you know, Christian Gonzalez possibly not playing as well. They're one of their primary corners. Could light up the eyes of Bryce Young. Make sure that he gets it to McMillan, who seems to be his favorite target. He has 14 receptions for 216 yards. I mean, why not? Anyway, that defense stepped up. Special teams is stepping up. The offense started to finally click. Carolina could start making some noise. New England's still trying to find their voice with Vrabel. So we'll see how they can transform their antics on the field. Try, you know, equate something. Vrabel is a great coach. I mean, look what he did with Tennessee. He had great outings in Tennessee, and just all of a sudden it just fell apart towards the end. Now he's back at his old stomping grounds. He used to be a player, the Patriots, so he knows. He falls a little bit the Belichick way, a little bit the Patriot way, maybe find a way. But right now, analytics has it at 56% New England. New England also has a 4.5-point spread. You know me. There's always a game or two where I'm going against the trend. In a way, Carolina's played the past 2 weeks. I mean, yeah, they lost in Arizona, but they made that comeback. In the way they handled Atlanta, with that offense they have, they could do the same thing in New England. If things continue to strive where they're going, I think Carolina can have another marquee win. New England's been very inconsistent with their outings. Get edged out by Pittsburgh, but they edged out Miami in a flag fest. And then the Vegas edged them out. And they've yet to win at home. So far they're 0-2 at home. I'm taking the Panthers to win on the road, edging out the Patriots. Now we head over to MetLife Stadium as the Giants play host to the Chargers. And lo and behold, Brian Daboll has pulled the trigger. Jackson Dart has been named the starting quarterback for this weekend. He will make his debut against the LA Chargers and Justin Herbert. That's a hell of a debut, but sometimes you got to throw him in the deep end of the pool and either sink or swim. Jackson Dart had a decent career down in Ole Miss. He could throw darts. He doesn't make some bonehead throws sometimes. All quarterbacks do. But going against this prolific defense and offense, I mean, they find ways to stifle an offense and generate just enough of their own offense and gives what their defenses give them to find ways, to score points. And that's what they've been doing. That's what they did against the Chiefs down in Brazil. That's what they did last week against Denver. They kind of stifled Las Vegas. I mean, Herbert over 160 yards on the ground, or on the air. Wow, 160 yards in the air with 6 touchdowns in the pick. Hampton coming in the backfield over 140 yards and a touchdown. Their defense is getting back there when they have to. And the Chargers right now, analytically, are favored at 76%. The spread right now is a 5.5. You'll probably see a few changes in those metrics before Sunday just because of Jackson Dart being confirmed to start. That got confirmed on Wednesday the 24th, so probably expect some of the lines start to change a bit more. But I still think the Chargers are going to go in there, handle business. The Giants might make it a game. They might do what they did against Dallas. So be mindful of that one, but I still think the Chargers are going to be just too much for them and just edge and escape with a victory. Now we have the Philadelphia Eagles head down to the Bay of Tampa to take on the Buccaneers. And the Buccaneers had a struggle against the Jets. But if you look at Tampa Bay, they've not blown anyone out. It's always been very close. They always had some type of comfort behind aspect. They did it against Houston. They had the same thing with Atlanta, and it only was because of a missed field goal that they sent the game to overtime. They had that block kick that happened to them as the Jet ran down to the end zone and still ended up winning the game. So they find ways to take victory away from the jaws of defeat. And it could be just, Baker Mayfield. And the Eagles have found ways to just continue to stay ahead of the trend as well. I mean, look what against Dallas. Dallas gave them all they could handle. Then after, things calmed down that second half, they winning. They able to withstand the Chiefs in the Super Bowl rematch in the Arrowhead. Ended up winning that game. Same thing with the Rams with a block kick, ran back for a touchdown. Was not needed, by the way. they were going to win that game anyhow by one, but they put the exclamation point there with the big man running down the field. So I'm really feeling these two teams will put a very good matchup because Baker Mayfield has 650 yards in the air and 6 touchdowns. Irving coming in the backfield with 174 on the yard. For the Eagles, Hurts almost 480 yards with 3 touchdowns. And Saquon almost 200 yards with 2 touchdowns. Also got to mention, Hurts also comes out of the backfield sometimes as well. The offense of the Eagles varies depending on the opponent. They beat you on multiple facets. And that's going to be hard. Some of the things that's going to be difficult for the Tampa Bay to kind of pinpoint on. Now, anytime Tampa Bay and Philadelphia gets together, there's always a very unique aspect, especially in the playoffs. Right now, analytics has it at Philly at 55%. They also give them a 2.5-point spread. Long dramatic pause means I am bucking the trend. I guess there's not water in here. I'm taking Tampa Bay in an upset. I think I don't know. It's just one of these games that's when these guys' lucks will finally end. And I don't know. These are two very good teams. I think they'll face off again in the playoffs, especially the Rams. I think right now those are the big three. I think in NFC. But I will give a slight edge to Tampa Bay in this one. But once again, I am not confident in this pick. But we'll see what happens after Sunday. Now it's time to head to H-Town when the winless Titans come in, take on the winless Texans. Wow, what is this, 2010? Who would have thought both Houston and Tennessee would be winless and the Colts be sitting on top of AFC South? Undefeated. Who had that on their bingo card? But Cam Ward struggling mightily against NFL defenses. I mean, he still has 500 yards passing with 2 touchdowns, but he does have that pick. Not very accurate. I mean, he's still a little over 50% with 54 out of 99 attempts. Stroud, almost 600 yards, but he does have those 3 picks that really hampers him right now. So he is struggling right now. So maybe he's having a little slump this year. Missing a couple of receivers. Does kind of detract from the Houston offensive playbook. And, it's kind of hard to see. I mean, you saw what that good defense does against Houston, especially with Jacksonville. They're just enough to disrupt them, and that was it. Both running backs only have 1 touchdown coming in there. Pollard, almost 200 yards. Wow. Chubb, 140. So, which team's going to get that first victory? And I think it's going to be closer than what a lot of people might think. Right now, analytics has 6.5% Houston. They also give the Texans a 6.5-point spread. I think C.J. Stroud keeps the Titans in it. Cam Ward is finally going to step up as a quarterback. He's going to put up some numbers against Texans. I think it will be closer. I think I would take the Titans for the points just because of that aspect. But I do think at the end of the day, the Texans will defend the home turf and beat the Titans to get their first win of the NFL season. That time, head out to L.A. where the Rams play host to the surprise Colts. Who thought Daniel Jones is going to just step in that role and just dominate? Well, obviously he did. So did the Colts organization that brought him over. Matthew Stafford still having a decent season as well, almost 740 yards in the air, 5 touchdowns, 2 picks. Williams coming in the backfield over 200 yards. Taylor coming in the backfield for the Colts is the main aspect of this with over 330 yards on the ground and 3 touchdowns. And Dan Jones has just been a complementary piece with over 800 yards in the air, 3 touchdowns. So the Colts are playing complementary football, which is making them a very, very dangerous team. I mean, you see what they have done so far this season. I mean, blew out Miami. They struggled against Denver, but they ended up winning in the end, and they blew out Tennessee. Well, the Rams also blew out Tennessee, so it's not saying much. You could take those 2 games out. Struggle against Houston, but still ended up winning. Struggle against Philadelphia. Had the chance to win. Ended up getting blocked. But I think it's like very, very close between these two. Right now, the Rams have like a 56% in the analytics. They also have a 3.5-point spread. For me, this is a coin toss. This is going to be, I think, a true test of the Colts this season, taking on a team like the Rams. And they're going to make it a game. It's going to be like that Colts-Broncos game or, Rams-Eagles game. They take how those games went, mash them in here. This is how this game's going to go back and forth. I won't be surprised if Colts jump out early, like 14-0, before the Rams come back. And this is how this Colts team, I think, is going to be this year. They're going to be the shocker that no one picked. They're going to be the dark horse. No pun intended. But I think the Rams are going to find a way just to edge them out just enough. Yeah, I think it's going to be like a 2-point victory, but I'm taking the Rams. Same thing with Mac Jones. So which quarterback's going to step up? So Jennings. I mean, it's a mash unit right now going on in San Francisco. Christian McCaffrey is still showing that he can do what he can and be a focal point for the team if they have to be. But the problem is, who's going to be quarterback and for how long? Because McCaffrey only has 170-plus yards coming out of the backfield with no touchdowns. And we don't know if it's going, Mac Jones questionable, Purdy's questionable, so who's going to be quarterback? Like I said, for how long? It's going to be a matter of time. Trevor Lawrence is still a questionable mark as well for the Jaguars, but not for injuries, but for performance. And he still finds ways to keep the other team involved. I mean, he does have over 670 yards in the air, but he's 1-for-1 touchdown interceptions at 4. And that just drives his coach crazy because he ends up making some bonehead throws. Etney is a focal point for the Jaguars offense. If he can get going, if there's a lot of problems with that 49ers defensive front, Etney is going to exploit this. But right now, analytics, a little hesitant at 51%. The line still has it at 49ers at 4.5. For me, unfortunately, the question marks right now on that quarterback front for the 49ers. Question marks on the defense now. It's my third upset. I'm taking the Jaguars to win on the West Coast. Trevor Lawrence is going to make this interesting. He's going to, throw up an interception, and he shouldn't have, to give the 49ers a chance to make a play. But I think injuries are going to finally catch up to 49ers, and this is going to be the game that finally ends it for them. Now head up back to Arrowhead as the Ravens come in and take on the Chiefs, and both teams are 1-2 in the season. Who saw that coming? Who had that on their bingo cards? But once again, we're not there in the prime time, so the Ravens will probably play better. The Chiefs taking on another quality team, so we'll see how they step up. I mean, they had good games against the Raiders the Chargers and the Eagles, but just couldn't win in the end. Receiving core, big mess right now. The Ravens, they have their own issues. Now head up back to Arrowhead as the Ravens come in and take on the Chiefs, and both teams are 1-2 in the season. Who saw that coming? Who had that on their bingo cards? But once again, we're not in the prime time, so the Ravens will probably play better. The Chiefs taking on another quality team, so we'll see how they step up. I mean, they had good games against the Raiders the Chargers and the Eagles, but just couldn't win in the end. Receiving core, big mess right now. The Ravens, they have their own issues on the defense, which gives Patrick Mahomes some levity. And they're finding ways to get other receivers involved. Kelsey, right now, a very limited role right now in that Chiefs offense. And so you see him and the coach kind of go at it again. It might be last year Kelsey in Kansas City. Who knows? Derrick Henry needs to hold on to the ball. That's the number one thing right there. He continues to fumble the ball, which gives the team some aspects. Zay Flowers was very limited targeted against Detroit. You might see that tick up a bit against Kansas City. Right now, it is eerily similar in terms of analytics. 50 to 49% in favor of Baltimore. Right now, the line has a 2.5 for Baltimore. I, too, like Baltimore in this aspect just because of this nature of the game, the way things are going. Kansas City's going, be up there. They'll put up the numbers against Baltimore, no problem. But Jackson and Mahomes are two outstanding quarterbacks. They're going to put on a show for you. You definitely have to tune in and watch this on CBS. But I would take Baltimore in this one to edge out the Chiefs and to continue the Chiefs' woes for the season. Now it's time to head out to the Strip where the Las Vegas Raiders play host to the Chicago Bears, who pull off a great surprise at home where the offense finally came alive. Caleb Williams, 715 yards passing with 7 touchdowns. Excuse me? Swift, almost 150 yards on the ground with a touchdown. So unfortunately, this team is being very pass-centric. You look at the other side, Geno Smith, over 830 yards in the air, but once again, 1-for-1, the TD interception ratio at 4. Genty hasn't really broken out as of yet. Over 140 yards and a touchdown. So he's on par with Swift right now. 2 decent running backs. Just hasn't really lifted that team up on their shoulders and ran. Both offenses will find ways to make things interesting. So question marks on the Bears defense to give the Raiders some possibilities. Analytics favor Chicago at 51%. They give the Bears a 1.5-point spread on the line. I don't know. I think you had me at Bears. I'm taking Chicago. The way they handled Dallas, if they could continue that setup, especially with that defense stifling Dak Prescott, and they do the same thing to Geno Smith, will mean a lot for this Bear franchise. It gives Caleb Williams more of a more understanding of this offense and able to find ways to, I don't want to say razzle-dazzle. You don't really have to go with the flea flickers or jet sweeps or anything like that to really get defenses on there. But now you've shown you can pull those plays off. That just means defense has to now kind of keep that in the back of their mind and may bite on a few fakes if you try to do that. So I'm hesitant about this pick, to tell you the truth, because the Bears have burned me so far this season. I'm 0-3 in their games. But I'm going to go with Chicago to win in Vegas. Now we head out to Big D. It doesn't mean Dallas. That means disappointment, drama, delirious, devastation. I mean, this team went to Chicago and laid a goose egg. I mean, yeah, they scored 14 points, but they couldn't do anything. They couldn't stop Chicago's passing attack. Their own offense struggled mightily against Chicago. And, well, Green Bay did the same thing up in Cleveland where they couldn't do much of anything against Myles Garrett and the rest of the Browns. Losing that game. But now you have the homecoming of Micah Parsons back to Dallas. The man that Jerry Jones didn't think was, deserving of the money he got when he went to Green Bay. But there are a lot of issues right now with this Cowboys team. You have CeeDee Lamb, that's doubtful. Trevon Diggs, questionable. Clark, who is the former Packer, taking on his former team, questionable. So there are some definitely interesting injury aspects that really will hamper Dallas. Dak Prescott not having passing-wise, 800 yards. 3 games, 800 yards. Sure, we could go with that. Averaging over 200 yards a game. You want me technical, over 260 yards in the game. But he's 1 for 1 and TD interceptions with 1. That's a problem. Jordan Love, over 660 yards in the air, 5 touchdowns in the pick. It's the rushing attack that really needs to take shape. And both of those rushing attacks disappeared last week for these teams. Williams for the Cowboys, over 220 yards, 3 touchdowns, but Jacobs, 180 yards, 2 touchdowns. So you get a little more productivity out of the Cowboys rushing than you are with Green Bay's. But it seems like everywhere you turn, something else just pops off, and it's just a continuously tumbling down effect with the Cowboys. Everything fell apart in Chicago. Same thing with everything Green Bay's done fell apart in Cleveland. This is a new game for both these teams to really come fresh, and attack this with new veracity to get their seasons, as they may see it, back on track. Green Bay still control their own destiny, and with that NFC North loaded between those big 3 of Green Bay, Minnesota, and Detroit, Chicago sniffing around may not happen, and Dallas is right now the third wheel in the East, because we all think Philadelphia and Washington are definitely better, but they've proven they may not be that much better than the Giants. Analytics right now give it to the Packers at 60%. Packers have a 6.5-point spread advantage. I do think it will be closer. I would take Dallas for the points. I'm almost going Dallas in this aspect, but I forgot about a couple of the injuries that's transpiring right now with question marks and questionable, doubtful with many key players with the Cowboys. I'm going to take Green Bay to win. And Monday night, we have a doubleheader once again. Once again, we're going to head down to South Beach where the Jets will come in and take on the Dolphins. And somebody is finally going to get their first win of the season. Now, Tyrod Taylor came in against the Buccaneers and did a very good job so far this season. Over 250 yards in the air, 3 touchdowns in the pick. Tagovailoa, 575 in the air. But he's almost a 1 for 1. 5 TDs to 4 picks. Running attack-wise, Daniel Williams finding pay dirt. They're both averaging about 150 yards on the ground. Not really lighting up the scoreboard whatsoever. And injuries, yeah, there's a few question marks with the Dolphins right now leading to that. And you look at their past games, the Jets kept up with the Buccaneers, lost in the end. Their special teams tried to win it, and their defense fell. Pittsburgh, they were battling them blow for blow and just couldn't get over that hump. Buffalo, they were completely outmatched. I looked at Miami. I mean, they were battling Buffalo. I mean, they were there with them, blow for blow, and just at the end, they just didn't have enough. Same thing with New England, with the laundry list that was going on, and then the Colts. Well, let's forget about that game, shall we? Especially if you're a Dolphins fan. But right now, analytics has them at 55%. They also give them a 2.5-point spread advantage. Pick your poison in this game. I really do think it's going to be interesting to see who is going to be better suited for this game. And it's going to be hard for me to kind of go with this one. I mean, Taylor had a great outing against Tampa Bay. Justin Fields still questionable with concussions. So it's for me. I think it's a coin flip because I just don't know who's going to play and what's going to happen. The Jets been doing really well, showing up. They're finally going to get one. I'm taking the Jets to win down in Miami. In things at mile high as Browning and the Bengals take on Nix and the Broncos. And this is not going. I think it's going to be a one-sided game on this one. The way the Bengals played in Minnesota was horrendous. Denver has some issues as well. They need to start fixing some issues. But J.K. Dobbins coming that backfield over 200 yards on the ground, 3 touchdowns, will help out Nix to find Sutton or any other targets that Bo Nix can find, because Bo Nix has over 530 yards in the air. 5 TDs for 3 picks. So a little bit of a sophomore slump going on there. Browning will definitely throw picks, which helps the Denver, which gives them better field position, allows them to get in. I'm not looking at anything else. I'm not going to divulge anything else right now. Denver has a 72% in analytics. They're fair at 7.5. I see no issue with neither one of these. Broncos winning at home to move to 2-2 on the season. Way to go. There's week 4. A few surprise picks in there. Jumping on back on the Bears bandwagon. Left it alone for one game because I really thought Dallas had their number. But we'll see what happens in Vegas. Maybe what happens in Vegas is to stay in Vegas. They continue that winning streak. But we'll see. A lot of interesting aspects. See which other aspects what aspect this week will be the focal point. That was blocks last week. So who's going to take the focal point this week? Interesting to see. See which quarterback can actually take that next leap. Maybe they can do 2 in a row. Bryce Young, Caleb Williams. Can they go back-to-back and wins? Can Penix, come out of his slump? Who knows? Well, let me know down in the comments below which game you think I got completely wrong. Which game you looking forward to this weekend? Is your team doing somewhat decent this year? I know it's only early season, but sometimes when the team starts 0-3, you might as well just take that out of the equation of them making the playoffs, because it's very slim pickings they make it. That's mixing up the comments below. The more interact, the better it boosts the YouTube algorithm. The almighty YouTube algorithm you play homage to ensure our frontal cortexes are loaded with the information and generate the endorphins that we enjoy as you're watching random cat videos and old men talking about sports. Another thing you do with this video, hit that thumbs up, especially if you like what I do. Another thing you also help this channel out is to subscribe. It costs you $0. That's right. The special low offer that will only happen the rest of this year at $0. You hit that subscribe button, click that bell icon, turn notifications. Next time I post any more content on my channel. And I'll see you next time. Chat Sports Talk.